Hi everyone, it's Rebecca here, and today B and I are going to be in conversation. We get lots of messages and emails from you asking us lots of how do I questions, and we thought it might be quite useful for us just to have a chat about one that we've had recently, which is about, and this isn't exactly what was said, but kind of what we've taken from it, is how do I deal with, let's say, a nasty comment that somebody makes, either about ourselves or if we've got children, about them, and it might be about their weight, or it might be about, I don't know, who knows, it could be about anything, but something that we take to heart. How do I protect them? How do I protect myself from those kind of comments? And it's something, yeah, that I'm sure we've all experienced, either from time to time or a lot in our lives. And we can really focus on that and find it quite overwhelming. And I think that the thing that B and I always point to, and we write about it in our book a lot, is how do we see beyond that? How do we see what we might call to our true nature, which is not affected by those kind of words that people are saying, and how do we get comfortable in kind of almost allowing those things to come through without us jumping on it and making huge meaning out of it. B, what are your thoughts there from there?
Yeah, I think that's so true, and I mean it can be so much more than a comment from someone. It can be, it's like the whole of social media, everything that we're kind of constantly comparing ourselves to and feel like we're constantly falling short, or advertising or whatever it might be. And it can really sometimes feel like we get almost infected by all of that external influence, whether it's kind of about our looks or how kind of productive we're being right now during the coronavirus or whatever it might be. And we can't help but compare ourselves to that, and that's totally normal. That's what we all do. But what we talk about a lot is how our resilience is inbuilt and how we are all resilient by default. And if you can kind of imagine that resilience inside you as something that's kind of totally untouchable, then actually all this kind of surface level noise and kind of negative influence that can't actually touch us and our kind of our core, as it were. But what's happening is that we see something on social media or someone makes a comment about our appearance or whatever it might be, and we then spin this whole kind of narrative and story about what that says about us and how they said that whatever the comment might be, and that means that I am this kind of person. It means that I'm not good enough. It means that I'm falling short. It means that I'm not the perfect wife, husband, girlfriend, whatever it might be. And that's when we get into trouble. And that's when those sorts of things make us feel really, really bad, because we're taking that story seriously. And no wonder we think that we draw the conclusion that it's that comment, it's social media, it's all this stuff that is making us feel terrible and like we are falling short and all that kind of stuff that you might be experiencing. but actually it's those feelings are coming from that kind of interpretation that we've created about those things. So actually what Mum mentioned at the start about the question that we were asked about how we can kind of protect ourselves from those things, that kind of inbuilt shield almost is there already. It can't actually touch us or our kind of inbuilt resilience. But all we kind of need to do, and I say all we need to do, it's might say it kind of easier said than done, but just start to kind of break that connection almost between those things that are happening out there and us as people, as human beings. And what I mean by that is notice when you're kind of starting to create those stories, and when you're starting to add meaning to the comments or what you see on social media or whatever it might be, and just notice how you feel as a result of that. And our feelings are a really good way of actually measuring how helpful our thinking is. So that's kind of my interpretation of that and my kind of response to that question.
I love that, and it's funny, B, because what was coming up for me was, gosh, this goes back a long time, when I had been suffering with postnatal depression, and had been having some therapy, and I remember, and it's so funny, I've not thought about that since then, but the lady that I was seeing, she was talking this language as well, which was so interesting, that there was something unbreakable within me that was untouchable, for all of the stuff that was clogging my mind at the time. And I remember her saying to me, and we did some kind of like a meditation really, or mindfulness thing, but it was like, and I remember clearly, it was like walking down the steps to the beach where I was living, and it's a beach kind of a bit further down Gower. But it was like going to this really quiet place that was within me, where I felt, and I sat on this swing that you may know the beach I'm talking about, going down, and there's a beautiful old swing, and I was just able to sit on that swing and actually reconnect with that unbreakable bit within me. And we've all got that. Every single one of us has got that. And you might be listening to this video now and going, no, but I can't see that. That's just, I can't see that. And what I would love you to see, just to begin to explore, what if what you're thinking about that right now isn't true? What if you, like every single one of us, has got that deep okayness within us that is unaffected by anything else that's there superficial on the surface? Because for me, knowing that back then was what helped me get through and to come out the other side. And I know without a doubt that's there. And boy, have there been times since where that's come into question. And particularly around this time that we're all going through with the coronavirus. There are days that have felt very bleak. And I may have momentarily forgotten that I'm okay beneath all of that. But that doesn't mean it's not there. It's like, if you've watched any of our other videos or read our book, you'll know that we often talk about the blue sky as the metaphor. I mean, we're so fortunate at the moment in the UK where the weather is absolutely glorious, which is wonderful. But we had a pretty wet and horrible winter. And we could well forget that the blue sky is there, but that never, ever, ever goes away. And that's exactly the same for us.
And I think just to add to that with eating disorder specifically, we can often feel like when we've been diagnosed, I guess it's kind of applicable to any other diagnosis, that we feel that we're broken in some way, and we've talked about that in some of the other videos that we've done. But actually, again, even with that, even when it can feel and look like we are broken in some way and need fixing, that actually that's still just the surface level stuff. That kind of the core inside you, as I talked about, that no matter what the diagnosis, that's still intact. That can't be touched by anything. And yet we kind of were given this diagnosis, and it kind of feels like part of us has kind of fallen away, or is cracked, or needs mending. But even when it really feels like that, just remember that's not the case, that we're never broken. I think that's something that I wish I'd known when I had anorexia, because I did feel like there was something lacking, or there was something broken. And when you can see that in yourself, and also the people that or the person that you're caring for who has an eating disorder, and you can, even if they can't see it themselves, you can see that in them, that they don't need fixing, that there is this kind of whole person beyond the eating disorder, which is this kind of surface level kind of us being caught up, that actually that's just up here. We kind of talk about imagining like a cross section of the ocean, that there's kilometers and kilometers of ocean that is just kind of still. And it's just that, I mean, you can have horrific storms up at the top, at the surface, and they can look really scary sometimes. But that's what's going on when we're caught up, whether it's kind of our eating disorder thinking, whether it's us reacting to a comment that someone made, whatever it is. That's the kind of the stormy seas on the top. But what we're pointing to is that there's all of this ocean kind of within you, without sounding too kind of corny, that is completely still and is completely untouchable by the elements really that are going on. I hope that makes vague sense.
That's beautiful. I think that's I love that metaphor of the ocean and the kilometers of stillness that's there. Even though we can't see it at the time, it's always there.
So we hope that you've found that helpful. Feel free to leave comments and just drop us a line if there are kind of specific things that you'd like us to talk about. There are plenty of other videos on our channels like these below that we'd love you to take a look at, and don't forget to hit subscribe as well.